Hey guys, just wanted to do a quick video because I've been getting some questions about this old Ford that's always sitting in the background. So let's go and take a closer look at that. This is a 1991 Ford F250 with the 7.3 liter V8 diesel. It was in the Centurion spec, which from what I can gather just means that it was redone by Centurion and had a slightly nicer cabin. It's an extended cab long bed, and that means it's only about a foot shorter than the longest model you could get at the time. Actually, now that I have the Humvee in here, let's just compare, because most people know that Humvees are pretty big. The Ford is not as wide, but it is much longer, so where the Humvee ends, the Ford just keeps going. And I don't even have a front bumper on that. That would make it even longer. Actually, let's just get this out of the way so we can take a closer look at this thing. So the story of this, at least as far back as I know it, is the guy who had it, he slid out on some ice and hit a little tree and it got some damage in the front. And he wasn't really bothered to fix it up, so he just left it in the back of his barn and it just sat out there for a good 10 years or so. Then a buddy of mine got a wind of it and he went and got it fired up and he brought it home. But because he's not much of a 4x4 truck guy, he mostly does Hondas and other street cars. So he hit me up and asked if I wanted to buy this off him, and I did. So I brought this thing home, and then it sat at my home for a couple of years. I did have a little bit of rust in the cab, but mostly it was the bed that was really rusty. The entire bottom was mostly gone. Someone had already started some work on it, but I just wasn't really bothered to try and save it. At that time, I'd just gotten a hold of this old military Unimog trailer that I was going to take some parts from. But then I realized that the box from that trailer would actually fit the back of this. So we tore the old bed off and replaced it with this box. And that's what's going on back here. This is really where the work got to before I got a whole lot of other projects, and this was kind of pushed aside, and really I haven't been touching this for 2, maybe 3 years. It's really just been sitting here collecting dust. It's actually a bit of a shame because I've already put a lot of work into this thing. I've already done all the rust work in the cab, so that's all sorted. And everything underneath is done. I did the brakes, both rear and front. I did everything up on front. I redid the whole front end with new bearings, new bushings, new ball joints, all that stuff. Same with the rear, actually. Yeah, I actually replaced all the bushings back here as well. Overhauled the leaf springs. It's all done underneath. It's really just a matter of finishing up this bed and all these little cabinets that I was going to put on the side. This was actually going to be the battery box because I wanted to remove the batteries, which are sitting in the front corners. I just wanted to take a little bit of weight off that and put it further back. So I wanted to put the batteries here and then just have a cabinet or toolbox or something on the other side. Last thing I really did was try and mock up this heat guard, and I was going to bring the exhaust through there and make a sort of a stack for it. It was giving me a little bit of trouble because suddenly I had to make room for the exhaust pipe to come through inside that box, and it's a bit of a headache. I didn't really get any further with it. Like I said, this is where the work stopped, but looking at it now, I'm thinking that I'm just going to scrap that whole idea, just bring the exhaust out underneath, and then just make this a simple box. The tires are some 35-inch Cooper Discover STTs. I was actually running these on my Hummer H3. This is the spare tire that's never even been driven on. But by the time I replaced those tires, they still had half the thread left on them. So instead of discarding them, I just threw them on this because it really needed some new tires. And actually this size, it just fits really well on this truck. They're nice and beefy, but they're not too big and bulky, and they feel really good for it. Let's just get some light, because if I remember, I have a bunch of parts for this already. Where did I put this? Up here, maybe? Yeah, that works. I already have a lot of filters and a lot of stuff for the fuel tank. I have fuel pumps, and alright, I bought an extra oil cooler for it as well, because I was gonna improve the oil cooling for the transmission. I was gonna make something in the front for that, because it still just has the stock setup where the oil is running through the regular radiator, and that's not terribly efficient. But I've already gone over the inside of the cab, and it's actually looking pretty nice in here. I took out the middle bench seat, folding seat thing, because that was completely eaten away by rodents, I think. So I'm just gonna make some kind of center console for it. Something with armrests and cup holders, maybe. We'll see. The front fenders, they were really rusty as well, so I got some imports from Texas, I think. Yeah, I think it was Texas. Doesn't really matter. Used fenders, but they're really nice. And I got all the parts that were damaged in the front. All this was kind of pushed in and cracked. And I got some new headlights because they were just gone. So on the other side of this, I haven't really started attaching anything to the side of the bed, but it's just going to be the same as the other side. I'm going to use the fenders that came with the trailer. I'm just going to attach those, and we're going to make some platforms to step on with some kind of little locker toolbox thing over here as well. Yeah, it's actually not looking bad in here. Took out the bench seat from the back because we're not really allowed to drive with that anyway. It's done. Let's see. What's that? 13? Is that 13,000? Oh, it's missing the last digit. I don't think it's only done 13,000 miles. It's probably, well, judging by the truck, it's probably 113,000 miles. I don't think it's done over 200. It's mostly been serving as a table for the past few years, so let's just get some of this stuff out here. Alright, so, alright, hold on. Where is that? There we go. And some light. Bam. So this does have the big one, the 7.3 liter International Navistar engine. It's a naturally aspirated V8 diesel. So I remember that one of the things I did down here was to take out all the injectors and have them refurbished. And I replaced all these return lines because that was all falling apart and leaking all over the place. And as I was trying to start it up, the starter actually burned out, so it has a new starter as well. But it hasn't been running for a pretty long time. It should still have diesel in it, if I remember correctly. So let's go ahead and check the oils and waters, and let's try and fire this up. There's a motor over there. Geolie, det har vi også. Hvad tænker du? Jo, vand er der også på. Ved du hvad? Let's try and throw a battery in here. I still have the terminals up here. I haven't brought it back to where I want them. And also I remember this relay is burned out, so it doesn't actually work from the key, but it's been bypassed with this little push button here. So we got a battery hooked up, and I heard a relay click over there, so I think there's power on. Let's go check. So like I said, it doesn't start from the key, but you do have to put the ignition on in here. Hey, life. And our wait to start light actually went out. Now, there's no mufflers on this, so if it does start, it's gonna be a little loud. Alright. Let's give it a go. That's not impressive. So the thing is, even though this wait to start light, it is working, or at least it is coming on and back off again, but I'm not entirely convinced that the preheating or the cold start function on this is actually working. So that might be what's holding it back, because it is just around freezing point today. But let's just give it another go. Alright, so let's just try her again. Nope. Let's just try one more thing before I run out of battery. Let's try with a little bit of the forbidden juice. Okay, so it does still run, and it actually sounds really good, so that's really nice to know. Now, it only took a little bit of help to get it going, and also when it started up, for the first part, it was sitting at high revs, and that tells me that the cold start part of it is working, because as soon as it got a little bit up to temperature, the revs dropped to regular idling. So the problem is most likely the glow plugs. I mean, since the light is working, that would suggest that the relay is doing what it's supposed to. So I'm guessing it's the glow plugs themselves that have just gone bad. This was also an issue last time that I started it up. It was struggling a little, so they've probably been bad all along. So anyway, that was a quick look at the old Ford. It was nice to get it fired up again and hear it running. Hope this answered some of the questions that some of you had. And I'll probably be doing some work to this alongside with the old Unimog 421 that I'm going to be bringing in tomorrow. Actually, you may see that video first. I don't really know yet. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching this one, and we'll see ya.